Hi everybody, welcome back to the garden. If you're anything like me, your grow shelf is packed right now with tender annuals that is way too early to put out into the garden. But I have more seeds. I have flower seeds that I really want to get sown into some pots and see if I can get them started a little bit early rather than having to take up more space on my grow shelf. So I'm going to try a little bit of a hack and essentially fill up my containers with some compost and perlite and wood chips to just create a little bit more volume on the bottom. I'm going to direct sow my flower seeds, and I'm going to use something to cover them. I'm going to use clear plastic. This is just an old sushi tray that's clear. You can also get some plastic or salad bowls or anything that you have around the house that would be clear plastic, or you can even buy at the domes at the dollar store, though they do break easily, and kind of cover the seeds until they germinate and protect early emerging seedlings from any other frost that we might have potentially well into May. So let's get started. So what I got for myself is some homemade compost that I just sifted through from our compost pile. I have some wood mulch, wood chips that I got delivered for free, actually from Chip Drop last year. They've been sitting on a big pile, the extra ones we didn't use. I have my container of choice, and I also grabbed some of my perlite that I'm going to mix into the compost because I want the potting medium in here, since it is in a container, to be really well draining and lighter than I would normally want it. So I'm going to start off by actually throwing some wood chips into the container of choice just to create a little bit of volume and fill up some of the space, as well as create a little bit better habitat for microbes and fungi, more drainage. I tend to do this with larger containers. Just instead of filling it with plastic, I try to put in some extra wood chips that I have lying around. Next, I'm going to take my compost and add in some of the perlite, mix this in before I add it onto my container. Okay, so my container is just less than a half a fill, maybe a third of the way filled with wood chips, and I'm just going to go ahead and top it off with the rest with the compost mixed in with the perlite. Okay, so I've got my pot with maybe 2-inch gap from the top. I don't like to fill them too close to the top because when there's heavy rains, or even when I'm watering the pots, what tends to happen is if it's too close to the top and the water fills up, it will kind of erode and take some of the soil out, and I just want to make sure that everything stays in the pot. So now I'm going to direct sow my seeds. And for this pot, I think I'm going to do some cosmos to take up the majority of the planter, and then in the surround I'm going to plant these Boo Riley nasturtiums, which I absolutely love nasturtiums. I love eating the leaves. I love making nasturtium pesto with these, and these are sort of a very pale yellow color, if I remember correctly when I was ordering them. So it's going to be very pretty, whimsical sort of display. Hopefully the cosmos are going to be very gentle and swing in the wind and taking up some of the volume, and then the nasturtium is going to be trailing over the side and have that dense kind of trailing effect that I love. Okay, so starting with the cosmos, I'm just going to scatter them sort of in the middle area here, work them into the soil gently. And then these are the nasturtiums, and I'm just going to poke these in. And some people recommend kind of scraping these or filing them to help with germination. I've done that in the past, and then I have not done that in the past, and I haven't really noticed too much of a difference personally. So I'm just going to plop them in here, and frankly, they have time. They have more than enough time to germinate, and they probably won't do so until it's a little bit warmer and the soil's warmer. I'm just going to go ahead and cover that up a little bit. And I do poke them in a little bit lower because, as a rule, seeds like to be planted twice as deep as their size. So I'm going to go ahead with that. I'm going to water this in. So I'm just using my indoor watering can because my water outside is not yet plugged in because it is still cold out here. So I'm just going to be gentle with my indoor watering can. The pièce de résistance, which is this wonderful sushi tray, and I'm actually going to weigh this down with a block. So I have this guy lying around, and it's just heavy enough that it's going to keep this on, and not too heavy that it's going to damage this. You could tie this, you could I guess you could tape it on, but whatever works for you, just to make sure that this doesn't blow off. Here are some other options that you can use. These ones are actually from the Dollarama. They're great technically, but I only bought these last season, and this one already has a giant crack in it. So it's gonna be fine for what I'm doing with this, but these are your other options, and you can just go ahead and try and direct sow your seeds this way.